welcome back to Queens Behind the Scenes. Today, we are having a conversation. It feels really personal to me, and I know it will feel personal to some of you as well. What happens when you've checked all the boxes, the career, the money, the home, the success, but underneath it all, you're running on empty? Today, we're getting into it because success that costs you your peace is too expensive. It's too expensive. My guest today, who I'm so excited to meet face to face, we've met, is Joelle Moray. She knows the story well. She had the big career, the awards, the home, the accolades, and yet beyond and behind the scenes, she was battling anxiety and stress-induced illness and fractured relationships. We talk about it. I've had the same thing, Joelle. Welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you here, first of all. So thank you for doing this with us. Thank you.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be here. So excited to join all the other queens that are behind the scenes.
Yes. You gotta put your crown on here in this space.
Ready.
Yes. So this spoke to me. So what you're doing really spoke to me because I battle that. I mean, even currently, as I try to step away, I always tell people I am on here with these amazing women that I also am feeding off of the information that they provide. Although I'm a yogi, we both are. We both have are practitioners in yoga. So we both know how much that, I mean, I know when I started doing yoga, I started feeling every single thing in my body. I don't know if about you. Did you, I was like, I feel like I can hear the blood flowing through my veins because can you hear it too? Can you like feel that too?
Oh yeah, you feel everything.
Right. And so then you feel everything and you notice, okay, I'm not feeling okay. Right. But here's the beauty. Joelle turned it all around. She is now on a mission to end hustle culture as we know it and help us create lives and careers that love us back. So grab your tea, settle in, and let's get into this powerful conversation. Joelle, you are amazing. When I was on your website, I have to tell everybody how we kind of hooked up. So there is a woman who I look up to in my community, Tisha Terry. I call her Miss Tisha Terry because obviously she was a little older than me and I'm a respectful person. That's just the way I was raised. But she said, you've got to get this powerhouse, two powerful women from the Valley. So we're both from the Ohio Valley, which is definitely Appalachian. But I would say I have gotten the most support from my community back at home. And Miss Tisha has been one of those people. She said, you have to meet her. You have to meet her. You need to have her on your show. And so I went to your website. I said, let me see let me see what she's talking about. Cause I am all about smart, interesting women. I just want to understand and know smart, interesting women. And as soon as I put on your website, I was like, oh, this is my girl. We get ready to chop it up. I love her. I was like, I don't even know her. It felt really kindred. You were living what many would say was the dream, but behind the scenes, what was really happening in your world?
Yeah. So, and not only was I had a very successful career. I had lots of degrees and lots of awards and, friends I've made, just by the nature of my career and great boss, by the way, great boss.
Mm-hmm.
Bosses over the course of my career. I had several different bosses, and they've all been really wonderful. Something just wasn't quite fitting, right? There was this sort of undercurrent of I was happy enough, right? And definitely successful in terms of the metrics that we use to measure success in the US. But there was just this little piece that like I wasn't quite fulfilled and I couldn't really figure out why that was. Who wouldn't want this life? Where you're going to Paris and you're, doing things and beautiful home and all the things. Who wouldn't want that life? And by the way, this was the life that I had previously dreamed of, right? The 25-year-old me dreamt of the life that 35-year-old me had. And
Mm-hmm.
so but there was just this sort of thing nudging at me going, this can't be it, right? I don't think we're meant to, there was just this little voice inside of me that kept saying, I don't think you're meant to feel as worn out as you are. And also, at the time that I started feeling this way, I did not yet have children. And I would talk myself, like almost like gaslight myself into thinking, you don't even have kids. You are not allowed to be this tired. Get your shit together, right?
Right,
Love your
right.
life.
Get your shit together. Right.
And so that nudged at me enough and long enough and got loud enough that I was like, okay, I'm starting to pay attention. And then I started realizing I am an incredibly anxious person, you know. Um, back in the day, people would say I'm high strung. Um,
Yes.
you know, and so, where's that coming from? And that can't be good. You can't be living with this anxiety. It's like this all the time. So I'm anxious, I'm worn out, but you just kind of gaslight yourself into staying in that pace because, well, I got great friends and I can pay the bills and whatever. But anyway, I'll save some of my comments for later in our conversation. I know we're gonna get to it all, but that's kind of
We're going to go through it,
that's kind
but
of where
it's
it
true.
was. Kind of where it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I can relate. I mean, right? Because even myself, I was thinking about like 24 or 25-year-old Cherise. And I think we talked about, I was a widow when I was 24 years old and I had two kids. And of course I was anxious, just I'm high strung anyway. And that just added to the anxiety. But I will tell you that I remember looking up to women who had all the things that now I have, right? Like I was like, oh, I have this great career. I have this nice house. I've got these, I mean, I have great kids who have, those are my biggest prized possessions. Like, I love my kids, but you start to feel sick and like, so I want to understand from you, can you walk us through the moment of your awakening when you asked yourself, what am I doing? And what led to that turning point?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because that question, what am I doing? That question came up several times. And sometimes we're very slow learners and the universe or whoever your source is will nudge you until you start to pay attention, right? Sometimes it's subtle but it just keeps nudging you until it's like this
Yep.
you're not getting this message yet, so I'm going to keep giving it
Yep.
to you until you get it.
Yep.
So there were several moments of sort of this, what am I doing? A couple times it's like, you find yourself working, it's not 9 to 5 anymore, right? You are definitely working way beyond what we would consider, 9 to 5, right? You're working in the evenings, you're working
Yeah.
weekends, you're working on holidays, and you're finding that you're saying things like, I'm going on vacation, but I'll take my phone with me. So if anyone needs me, I can be reachable. That's how I was living. And then I find myself like at the airport with my cell phone, like at the airport going on vacation. And
And you're working.
got that phone right in my hand. I'm still working. And there's this moment where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I can't even enjoy this like airport margarita.
And those are the best ones because they're $1,000.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Right. And then because I got to check the email, I got to stay in because, you're supposed to be on vacation, but you feel this like guilt for being there. I'm like, what in the world are we doing? Then, another time I was in a situation where it was a super fun time. Actually, write about this in my book. I was with friends listening to live music and I had a panic attack right there in the middle of that thing that should have been a really good, fun time. And I'd never experienced a panic attack before. I didn't know what was happening to me. And I ended up going to the ER. And at the ER, the doctor was like, what's going on in your life? Because your blood work is fine, actually. And we don't think there's anything like cardiac happening to you.
Yeah.
So what's like going on? And I was like, nothing, my life's great. And my friend had driven me to the ER and she just started dying laughing. And she was like, her life is not great. There's this and this and this and this and this happening. And I was like, well, that's just normal life. And the doctor was like, no, it isn't. And what's happening to you is you're literally having a panic attack. And that was a moment where I was like, what am I doing? Right. So leaving the ER and then the next day waking up in my condo and going, all right, this is not a way to
I
live.
can't. Yeah.
Right. This is just not a way to
Yeah.
live. So there were several moments, right? I wish there was this like one big epiphany moment. But like I said, I think most of us get these nudges all the time. We get these notifications within our own physical body, within our own mental health, and from our environment and from our source and universe that tell us the path you're on is not really sustainable, but we ignore it. And so there were several moments when I was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing?
Yeah. So when you decided to say, what am I doing and make a change, right? What was there fear in that change? Because there's fear in change, and you're making a change that's going to change your life and your lifestyle.
Yeah, that's such a great question because the fear was related to finances. It was never related to if I had the ability to do it. It was never related to, could I do this? Should I do this? It was more about what I'm about to go do, gonna am I gonna be able to maintain the same lifestyle I have now? There's also this fear of like, what will other people think? You know,
Yeah. What are people going to think?
what,
Why do we feel like that? Can you answer that? Like, why are we so worried about what other people are going to, they're not living your life. And I got to say this is going to sound really vulgar. I hope nobody thinks it's going to sound, it's cuss word though. I remember like somebody telling me, why do you care what people think about you? If they're not fucking you or feeding you, why do you care?
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, that's so true.
Because, well, I believe that it has to do with, our nervous system is designed for social connection, and it's designed to figure out a sense of belonging. And so we are wired to lean into these places where we have social connection. And when you want to or think you're going to step out on your own, you are literally leaving behind an anchor point for yourself. You're leaving behind
Yeah.
this sense of, will I still belong? Will I still be accepted? Will I still matter?
Yep. Am I going to be relevant?
Will I still be relevant? Will I still be accepted by these people? And so
Yeah.
that's really where the fear is coming from. It's sort of like not quite the same as people pleasing, but in a way it's in that same vein of like wanting to just have this sense of belonging. We all want to have a sense of belonging. And one of the downsides of the hustle culture is we get tied up in our identity is tied to what we do. We introduce each
Yes.
other based on what we do for a living, right? So if you and I are at a cocktail party, you're probably going to say, this is my friend Joelle. She's an author and a speaker, and she talks about hustle culture and blah, blah, blah. You should have her come to your business. Hey, thanks, Sharice. Like, thanks for that. Thanks for that referral.
Thanks for the plug.
Thanks for the plug. But that's not really who I am, right? How different would it be if you were instead saying, this is my friend Joelle. She is such a chill person. You're just going to love talking to her. She's really funny. She's really, like if we introduced each other that way, it would be such a much softer entry point into relationship and into conversation. But instead, we are so ingrained in our identity being wrapped around what we do. So when we're faced with making a change, the fear is, now who am I? If I'm not this person in this box, the box that others have put me
Mm,
in,
put
who
me
am
in.
I?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so true. I mean, you get that sense of, I remember the first time the role that I'm in now. And I remember when I made this big Facebook post about it and like, oh, this is what I'm doing. And I was so proud. And not that I'm not proud of my accomplishments, but I looked back at that yesterday, which was 3 years ago, almost 4. And I was like, oh my God, like, I kind of felt like, why am I like, that's not my identity. This is what I do. It's not who I am. I am
Yes.
Sharice, a probably cool person, a good mom, a good wife. I love to like cook and hang out with my friends and have wine, and I love working out. That's who I am. I'm not Sharice, this HR executive that has this and does it. And that is in the United States. And I'm glad that you highlighted that, because I've been many other places. You've been many other places. Everywhere is not like that. Everywhere is not, your introduction is not always based on what you do. And I have a friend who actually told me a long time ago, kind of that's rooted in racism. And I've always now think about it, like, because she was like, why is it that every time we meet somebody, like, what do you do? Like, why is that what we, why do we ask that? So that's an interesting. Now, how do you reconcile that fear of losing it all? Because that's how I would feel. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm scared. I'm going to lose everything, in the hope of finding something better.
Yeah. So I think that you're creating the something better, right?
Yeah.
So I think you still have to have a plan. I mean, I think it's great to dream. It's great to have, manifest your life and all those things, but you still have to take inspired action. So in my case, I had planned for a long time. I planned financially by saving money. I had my business plan mapped out. I had a couple of clients under my belt. You know what I mean? So there was a plan. It wasn't just I jumped really without a full net. I jumped with a small net. It wasn't a big one,
Yeah. Right.
but there was a lot of planning involved so that it took some of that little bit of fear away. But one thing that was never in question was my belief in myself. I knew that I was going to do this. I knew that I could do it, and I proved myself right, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
So,
Yeah.
but I think for high achieving women, especially, I know this podcast is for women. So for high
It
achieving,
is. It is.
I mean, we can say all high achievers, but let's talk about the high achieving women. High achieving women get sucked into the hustle culture. It's like this romanticized thing that we are just drawn to because, as we were just saying, our identity in the hustle culture teaches us that our identity is tied to our productivity, and our productivity is tied to our worth. We end up seeing ourselves in terms of, if I produce and if I do XYZ thing and I'm a good girl and I follow the rules and color inside the lines, and what if I'm overproducing and I'm winning awards and whatever, then they will think I am valuable. Our value is tied to our productivity inside the hustle culture. And it's dangerous. It's a dangerous place to be, especially for women, because so many of us have fought for the seats that we are in. We have fought for a seat at the table, and we're still fighting for it in so many ways. But when your productivity and your worthiness are connected, it's a bad place to be.
No, it is. It so is. And I do say that a lot. We do tie productivity with, I see a whole bunch of people running around always saying they're productive, but they're just doing stuff. I don't know. Like, that's my thing is, productivity doesn't mean just doing a bunch of shit. Like, I don't know why productivity does not mean that. And I have to say that so much because I relate it sometimes to this person running around the office with a folder. Have you ever seen these people that are running around with the folder? Ain't shit in that folder, girl. Ain't nothing in that damn folder. Ain't shit in that folder.
Movie prop. There's nothing in there.
Yes. Ain't nothing in that damn folder. They're just running around looking productive. And because we glorify productivity in that way, we glorify that type of behavior in that person. They're such a hard worker. Just because she's running around here with that fake ass folder does not mean that she is a hard worker.
And so to her defense, the reason she's doing that is because her value and worthiness is tied to her productivity, right? So if you take away that productivity, maybe no one will see me as valuable. If I'm not producing and doing something meaningful for the company every second of the day, then maybe they're going to think that I don't belong here. Right? So we artificially inflate our own calendars by looking and appearing busy. I'm very busy doing very important things. I'm very busy doing very important things. Like, oh, sorry, let me clean up my desk, while you come in here and talk to me. Like, oh, sorry,
I got all this stuff.
I have all these things going on here. And really, we're just trying for the world, fundamentally and psychologically and in our nervous system, what we are trying to accomplish when we act that way is that we just want someone else to think that we are valuable.
I love the way you just broke that down so simply, because that's what I was going to ask. Is it because we just want to be seen? Like, we want someone to appreciate what we're doing and appreciate that we add value to a circumstance. That's right. That is it. You want people to see. And, I am so close to where you are right now with the, like, I don't even care, because the other, like, I don't care if you think I'm busy or whatever, because the results of my work show on their own. Like, listen, I got to tell you, I am a high achieving woman, and as well as you. But I got to tell you, lately, I'm 46 and I have gotten to this middle age, this big age I'm at. And I'm like, I don't really give a damn if you think, because the other part is, it also doesn't take me as long to do things as it takes other people. I just know that. Yeah. I know that I'm not that type of person who it takes me a whole long time to do a bunch of shit.
So let's talk about the 40-hour week real quick. So just a little history lesson for folks. The reason we have a 40-hour week actually can be traced back to Henry Ford, the Ford Motor Company. Okay. So prior to Henry Ford is basically credited with inventing or maybe perfecting the assembly line. And so he was making the Ford Model T, the very first kind of car that was ever mass manufactured. And prior to that, people were not working 40 hours a week. They were working far less than that. And Henry Ford figured out, I don't know how much they were working. I don't know, 30 hours a week, 35 hours a week, something like that. But Henry Ford figured out, if every one of our workers works an extra 5 hours a week, making it 40 hours, we will be able to produce this many more vehicles, therefore make this much more money. So the 40-hour week is based on something that happened more than 100 years ago, from a guy who had an assembly line where every worker, when they're working 40 hours, were actually doing a physical thing for that car for 40 hours. In modern times, things that we are doing for our company, first of all, don't function in the same way. We're not on an assembly line. We're not building a physical product in these cases, right?
Right.
And even folks who do work on assembly lines or like in a distribution center or something, you're still not really truly doing something technology.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And so to your point, it doesn't take us as long to get even more things done, right? And so,
Hmm.
you know, it's kind of like who cares what busy actually looks like? If I can get all of my work done in 4 days, why am I coming in on the 5th day? Right? If I can get
Yeah.
all of the things that are expected of me, if I can get all of these things done in 5 hours or 6 hours, why am I sitting at this desk for 8 or 9 or 10 hours? You know?
Right.
And it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, what's more valuable, seeing your, butt in your seat, or is what's more valuable what you've actually done?
So why are, and I don't know that you have the answer because I know that I don't, but why do you think so many executives are so hyper focused on people? I mean, we've got the work from home, work in office, telework conversation. Why are so many executives so eager to get butts back in seats so they can see these people do work they can clearly do at home? Like that's what because that right there for COVID, I will say, and we talked about this. When I was home, I was much more productive. I ate healthier, I lost weight, and I still did so great at work. And so, like, why are executives so hyper focused on butts and seats?
Because we still have this generations old viewpoint of what a good employee looks like. And if I
It's
can
like,
see you in your desk, or I can see on your Microsoft Teams that you are online, right?
yes,
Then that means you must be doing something valuable.
right.
We grossly undervalue what it means to rest and why rest is important cognitively and for innovation and for creativity and all these things. We grossly underestimate why rest is necessary.
Hmm.
So, executives, a lot of companies, I mean, I'm working with a lot of them, are starting to come around to this conversation, but we still have a long way to go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I say that because it's just an interesting because of where we are right now with like even the government employees having to like go back and all of that crap. And it's kind of like, but like, why do you need to see? Also, I do think sometimes, and I'd love to hear your opinion, we use or wear exhaustion as a badge of honor. Like, I'm so tired.
But yeah, yeah. So exhaustion as a badge of honor is because now I've proven that I've done so much work that I'm so tired. No one is more tired than me in this company because no one has produced more than me, right? It's again tied intrinsically to our value. All of these things we're talking about is tied to how we view our own worthiness.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the work that you do, what are the common patterns you see in high achieving women? Are we all still chasing the finish line? Where is the finish line? Is there a finish line?
First of all, there is no finish line. And so
Right.
thanks for saying that. I say this all the time. I had 3 corporate clients yesterday, and in all 3 conversations, 3 totally different organizations, men and women in both of those groups. And we talked about, the laundry. I hate to break it to you, your laundry ain't never going to be done. It's not. Your
It
dishwasher
ain't.
is never going to be empty. And just like that, such is the work that you do at your work. Your work at your job will never be done. If it was ever totally 1000% done, you wouldn't have a job, right? None of us would. In other
Right.
words, this task might be completed, but there's more waiting behind it, and there always will be. And if you retire, guess what? They're going to get another butt in that seat. And that person
To do
still,
the same
the
thing.
work will still continue with or without you there. And so we
Right.
have to understand that the work will truly never be done. And we really have a very difficult time giving ourselves and other people permission to truly take a break, and it's necessary. And the real shame of that is organizations who understand the value of the break are the ones who are going to have better employees that are more productive. So it's this paradigm where rest actually equals greater gains in productivity, right? And that's what I help companies understand.
I love that. Before we move into, because you talked about it, and it's a good segue into recovery and healing and mind body healing. But before we move to that, do you, and maybe it's the same answer, but it seems to me, this is what I see from my seat sometimes, is like these folks who they're not buying into the fact that you can't work people to death. You're not going to get the best of them. Do you really, this is where I get caught in it. Do you really want the best for the organization? Because if you do, wouldn't you be doing the best for the people that make the organization productive and successful? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So unfortunately, a lot of organizations are beholden to shareholders, right? They're beholden to, especially if they're publicly traded, they're beholden to their board of directors. Everyone has a boss, no matter who you are, even if you are self-employed. If you're self-employed, the client's the boss. So everyone has a boss, and there's always someone above the next person, right? And so again, that the people who feel that way, the leadership who feels that way, it's less about truly fundamentally understanding what we're talking about versus their value in the company is based on how well their team does, right?
Yeah.
And so they are charged with making sure the people that report up through the organization are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And what they're supposed to be
Yeah.
doing is producing.
Yeah. Mm. Joelle, you've done incredible work in that trauma informed mindfulness and somatic healing. I'd love for you to break it down for us. How does, I've talked about this book, The Body Keeps Score, a lot on here. My very best friend, who we're going to be on an episode together in a couple weeks, she actually referred the book to me. And so when I thought about that book and thought about you, I was like, oh, this is very connected. So, how does our body hold the stress and trauma of overachievement?
Such a great question. Such a great question. Let's talk about our nervous system for just a moment. So the autonomic nervous system, which is what we think of, that is what we're talking about when people say the nervous system, is we're actually talking about the autonomic nervous system. It has a couple of different ways that it functions. There are two primary sort of branches. One is the sympathetic response, and the other is the parasympathetic. The sympathetic response is what we think of when we think of fight flight. Okay. The parasympathetic is what we think of when we think of the calm down state, the state of restfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the sympathetic response, we actually can look at this mechanism inside of our body, sort of this system that's known as the psoas muscle. The psoas muscle is sometimes referred to as the seat of the soul, which the yoga person in me just thinks that is so beautiful. And
It is beautiful.
the psoas muscle sort of anatomically starts in the around the middle of your spine, right around your T12 of your spine. And then it sort of comes through the body and kind of goes all the way down through, goes through the center of both sides of your sort of hip girdle, and then attaches to the inside of your femurs. This muscle, known as the seat of the soul, is literally where in our body we experience the world around us and where we store those experiences. And let me explain to you what I mean by that. This muscle is our sympathetic response, it is our reactivity. So let's say, for example, we're going to make this really simple. The person driving in front of you slams on their brakes, and you have to immediately
Mm-hmm.
slam on your brake. Okay. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
when something like that happens, that is an immediate danger that requires a response from you.
Mm-hmm.
That psoas muscle goes and like tightens up and is preparing you to fight or run. Okay. This is your fight flight muscle. Make
Mm-hmm.
sense? Okay.
Yep.
When that psoas muscle engages or becomes really tight, just like I can make any muscle in my body tight, that psoas does the same thing. When that happens, it sets off a whole chain reaction, which at the end of that chain
Mm-hmm.
reaction, I'm not going to get too deep into this, but we'll just keep it very simple.
No, you
In that
can't, girl.
chain,
I want to know about the psoas.
we also it sets off this chain reaction through, basically this is where the mind body connection comes in, right? Because it sets off this chain reaction where our pituitary gland, which is right here, starts to overly produce the hormones that are related to stressors. So it's now overly making sure that the body starts to fire on all cylinders, producing
Mm-hmm.
insulin, glucose, adrenaline, cortisol,
Cortisol.
right? Everyone thinks of cortisol as a stress hormone, and it is. However, there's all these other neurochemicals that are happening as well. We cannot
Mm-hmm.
discount insulin, glucose, and adrenaline as well. So someone slams on the brake in front of you. Your psoas muscle goes, "This looks not good. I got to prepare.
Right.
I got to prepare to
Right.
fight or run away." And then all of a sudden, your body is now immediately producing adrenaline, glucose, blah, 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 because the glucose helps you brain focus on what's at the task ahead. The adrenaline gives you
Right.
enough energy to run, right? The insulin gives you
Right.
enough energy to run. And the cortisol is like, what the hell's going on? like, I don't know
Right.
what's happening.
Right. Right.
And so now the person in front of you, you actually did not get into an accident on this day. The person in front of you then, and then regular traffic resumes, right? and you just continue to drive your car, and you're just like, boop, 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 boop. And cognitively, you're not even thinking about it anymore. Like, this is not something you're going to repeat to your spouse later. You're not going to be like, oh my God, some asshole
Mm-hmm.
slammed on the brake in front of me, because it's so inconsequential to the
Yeah.
rest of your day that you just
Right.
like literally don't even think about it. However,
Mm-hmm.
nobody sent that message to the adrenaline and the insulin and the glucose and the cortisol. Those hormones are still going, and the psoas is still significantly engaged, because the psoas is like, hey, I thought we needed to fight or run, and we didn't do either. So I'm just going to stay engaged in case that danger returns. Okay. So now let's look at this from a trauma standpoint. Okay. Let's say that you are in maybe an abusive relationship, or you are in a toxic work environment.
Right. Yep.
So, or let's say maybe when you were a child, you grew up in a home that was very chaotic. There was a lot of shouting and
Mm-hmm.
yelling. There was a lot of judgment against you. You spent a lot of your childhood reading the emotions of the people around you so that you knew how to respond and react, right? I don't know which version of mom I'm going to get when she comes home today, so I better be hyper vigilant,
Yeah.
right? And then mom comes home and you're like, oh, I'm on edge here, right? Now that same personality is also a coworker, right? And so that coworker sends you an email or sends you a text or walks in your office, and your SOAS goes, I've seen this movie before and I know exactly how to react.
I've seen it. Yep.
And your body keeping the score, remembering, your body says, your body brain, the brain, this is where the mind body connection comes in. All these mechanisms are working together to go, I've seen this movie before. Now, it was in 1986, but I saw this movie before. And
Saw it.
the way I reacted before was to show up in these ways: people pleasing, perfectionism, because that's what mom responded to, right?
Yeah.
And so now I'm showing up like this with my coworkers, with my boss, with my people who report to me, etc. And you have never gone in and manually told that autonomic nervous system, I'm safe now. And you've never truly engaged the parasympathetic or the calm down mechanism, which is something that we do through our vagus nerve. So that is a like crash course, if you will, in how that works. But yeah, it's really fascinating conversation. I am actually studying with Dr. Van der Kolk, the author of The Body Keeps the Score, later this year. And I cannot wait for that training. I am so excited. It's a week long. He's teaching it, and I just cannot wait to go.
I love that for you. I am, oh my God, I love that for you. Why do I want to join?
Hold on.
That's like amazing. Yeah, that is, I want to hear more about that. Well, for our queens listening today who are feeling on the edge of exhaustion, what are some small, manageable steps that they can start to start the healing?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that we can do is to I'll end with I'll put the bow on at the end. We have to take times of micro recovery throughout our day, and not very many of us actually do that. Micro recovery looks like taking small breaks throughout your day. And I want to really get granular of what this could look like. Okay. This can actually occur when you wake up in the morning. As soon as you wake up in the morning, you can do this, or right before bed, or in between meetings, or in between tasks. We could even break it, we can even break it down to where you are setting a timer. Like, I'm going to work on this thing for 60 minutes, and then I'm going to take a 20-minute break or a 10-minute break. I'm going to work on this thing for 90 minutes. I'm going to take a 10-minute break. Breaks do not have to be exceptionally long. We can get into the timing of this, but around 5 to 10 minutes is kind of all you need. If you could do a 12-minute break, that would be amazing. That's like a really functional point, is 12 minutes, but I'll take 5 if that's all you got. And people who say, I don't have room. My calendar is back to back to back to back to back. And then as soon as I do this, I got to go over here, but I'm leaving one meeting late, or, early, and get to the next meeting late. What's on your calendar is not the problem. It's what's missing from your calendar that's the problem. And that is these micro breaks throughout the day. So what a micro break looks like, I'm going to break it down super easy in 5
Thank
super
you. Yes.
easy steps.
Yeah.
Okay. First thing you got to do is schedule it. You've got to schedule it. I don't care if it's as soon as you wake up in the morning. I don't care if it's right before bed. I don't care if it's when my workday ends, before I go do whatever I do after work, whether it's taking care of kids or taking care of your parents or whatever it is that you do after work. Somewhere in your day, you've got to schedule this. Okay. So number 1 is schedule it. Number 2 is time it out. 5-10 minutes is really all you need. I need you to put 10 minutes for yourself on your calendar at least once a day. Okay. So schedule it, time it out. Third piece, no talking and no technology. Do not talk to another human and no technology. Your phone has a do not disturb function, use it, or an airplane mode, right? So no technology, no talking to another human during this time. Now the last two are the things we're actually going to do. First thing is you got to move a little bit. And when I say move a little bit, I mean it can be a little bit. Stand up. That's number one. Just stand the hell up out of your damn chair, right?
Right.
Just let's just
Get up.
start there, right? Like, just stand
Yeah.
up. Stand up. So stand up, stretch your neck, move, do a little cat and cow. You can even do standing cat and cow, seated cat and cow. You can do
Hmm.
just a little stretch based on where your psoas muscle is, by the way. Cat and cow is one of the best things you could ever do. Get down on tabletop, hands and knees on your office floor. Do a couple rounds of cat and cow. Stretch your legs out a little bit, right? Pull your foot up, to your glute where you're kind of stretching that quadricep. Just literally stretching your body a little bit. If you could get outside and go for a little walk, that would be amazing. But I realize that's not always possible for people, but just some kind of movement. Go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, move your body in some way, and then come back. And we're going to do the press pause method. So you come back, or you find maybe another room or whatever. You're going to find a couch, a chair, a floor. I don't care. People overthink this so much. Like, just make yourself really comfortable. If you want to lay
Yeah.
down, great. I personally, like, I have my sit spot in my house because I'm a yogi and I have my meditation spot. Not everybody has that, but get on your couch. I like to go crisscross applesauce sitting upright. Other people might want to have their feet on the floor in their office chair where they're just like this, right? It doesn't matter. Just find a place to sit and pause. And in that pause, you're going to set a little timer, either on your watch or your phone or whatever. Hey, set me a timer for 10 minutes, whatever. You're going to set that down and you're just going to sit. You want to physically make contact with yourself, hand on heart, hand on belly, and just sit and breathe. And that's it. You can do a little mini body scan if you want, or you don't even have to do that complicated. You can just sit and breathe, checking in with yourself and just going, how am I? Oh, okay. Actually, I'm a little hungry. I didn't realize I was hungry till I sat here for a minute. Okay. Maybe
Hmm.
after this, I'm going to get myself something to eat. Okay. How am I doing today? I'm actually doing pretty good. I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling really sad today. Checking in with yourself,
Hmm.
set a little timer for 10 minutes and just literally sit there and breathe. That's it. That's the whole mechanism. And then you get back to your day. When we do that, so schedule it, time it out for about 10 minutes, move your body a little bit, no talking, no technology, and then come back and sit and breathe with hands on self for just a minute. And what you are doing is you are going to substantially improve your capacity for more productivity, more creativity, more innovation. The human brain is not designed for uninterrupted productivity. We have
Hmm.
to stop in order to get ahead. It is the only way. We think the hustle culture teaches us that the only way to produce a ton of shit is to keep
Right.
going. And we know that that is factually incorrect. You have to pause. Give yourself a minute. And that's all it takes. Get up, move your body, don't talk to anybody for 10 minutes, put your phone on silent, set a little timer. That's it. That's the look behind the magic curtain. The problem is not intellectually understanding this, and the problem isn't actually doing it. The problem is giving yourself permission to do it. That's where people get hung
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. I love that. And then also, what would be the role of community and connection in the healing? So many of us try to carry a lot of weight on our own. I know I do that a lot. I'm like, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And like I told you, it doesn't take me a really long time to do stuff. So, like, I am good for putting a million things on my plate and trying to do it all alone. What role can community and your family and the connection, what part does that play in the healing process?
A significant part. Community and connection are the pathway to so many things. And in fact, we talk about connection. Social connection is the highest level of our nervous system that our nervous system achieves to look for every day. And so we can literally talk about, the opposite of anxiety isn't peace, it's connection to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
connection to the present moment. The opposite of depression isn't
Mm-hmm.
happiness, it's connection to a purpose. The opposite of sobriety isn't, or the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection to community.
Mm-hmm.
We do things like Weight Watchers, community, group exercise, AA, church, all these things we do in community because community is fundamentally important to having a regulated nervous system. So if you want to really release that psoas and you really want to have a great day where you are completing your stress response cycle, grab a friend and go for a walk. outside at the end of your day. Yesterday, I did a walk outside. I have a friend who lives in another state than I do. And I put on my Beats and walked outside while I talked to her. And we said, we're going to do this every week now. So she's walking in South Carolina. I'm walking in West Virginia, and we're still connecting with each other. So I'm outside, I'm moving my body, and I'm connecting with someone. So connection needs to be like that in real life and not on social media, right? But connection is absolutely the pathway. Your nervous
Yes.
system craves the state of connection over everything else.
I love this. I always say that, but I do love, like, everything we talk about on this show. I really love it. And the women that are willing to share their expertise and come on here to help other women is just so inspiring to me. So I do love it. Let's shift to redefining success and building a new model of success. Okay, so let's reimagine success together. It isn't hustle. If that's not the answer, then what is the answer?
Yeah, so redefining success, and I want to be really clear here. What we're talking about is not a denunciation of ambition.
Right. Thank
Right?
you. That doesn't mean you don't want to do things.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. What we are trying to do here is to create enough space that you actually have, you could actually be more, you could even achieve more than you're currently achieving when you sort of take this model. So the new model of success looks like a place where ambition and radical self care can coexist. And when I talk about radical self care, I'm talking about that little press pause method I just taught you. When you allow
Mm-hmm.
yourself and others to simply periodically every day take a 10-minute break in the middle of their day to just recalibrate themselves, to slow their thoughts and their nervous system down, you are literally going to be able to produce more. A new version of success looks like I am going on vacation and I am not available. Period. I am
Period.
not
Yep.
reachable on my phone. I am not taking my laptop with me on vacation. And making sure that other people in the organization know that Charisse is unavailable. What do you need? I am the person you can contact while she is out. Right.
Yeah.
And so making sure that
Yes.
those things are delegated while we're out, and making sure the people above us and below us are both on board with that. And those things really work when the leadership of the company do those things. If the
Do those
leadership
things.
says, you all don't have to take your phone with you on vacation, but then they take their phone on vacation, it's sending the wrong message.
It's a lead by example. Oh, totally. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally
So
agree with that.
a
Yes,
new
it is.
definition.
People are going to do what they see.
Exactly. They're going to do what they see, not what they're told. And so a new definition of
Yep.
success is today is my daughter's violin recital at 3 p.m. and I'm going to that and I'm not available during that time. Right. And I am yours up until 3 p.m. and I'll be yours after 5 p.m. if you need me to, so I can go to this recital. But I'm going to that violin recital at 3 p.m. and I'm not reachable because I'm showing up for my kid when she needs me. Right.
Yeah.
This is how we redefine success, and we have to be able to give each other permission to do so. Right. If you're like, I'm at the dentist at 3 p.m. on Thursday, people are like, all right, cool, see you when you get back. If you're like, I'm taking a break for my mental health at 3 p.m. on Thursday, people are like,
No, it's like, oh my gosh, it is so true. And like, to me, it's just so important. It is like your mental. Yes, because y'all done got on my damn nerves. Okay. Like I need a break. And that's the thing is like, we do look at a break as, and I'm so glad you walked through what that break can look like, because that's what I was going to ask you is like, people say, what is a break? What does that mean? And it is like the unplug. I used to have this thing. It's the funniest thing. I had to buy it because I am a phone person, always in bed. I don't do it anymore in bed at all. But the reason is because I bought this thing from Thrive, Ariana Huffington, Thrive. And I bought, it was a bed for your electronics, and it has this little thing you plug them in and you put your electronics to bed. And I did it every night. The only thing is it took up so much damn space on my nightstand. I was like, okay, well, no, but it did work so well. It looked like a little Barbie bed, like a king size Barbie bed, but it had the plugs and stuff, and you just put your electronics to bed. I'm telling you, it created a good habit for me, right? Like that I was like, okay, I'm done with this. Like I'm not online. I need to unplug. And so that really helped me. Now I could have done it for cheaper than $65 buying that damn bed, but I feel like the $65 was worth my peace of mind because I bought that 8 years ago, and I have kept this habit for 8 years.
yeah. And so,
Right?
yeah, we should all be using a regular alarm clock, not our phones as our alarms.
Thank you. That's the other
They're
thing.
$12.99 at Target.
Okay, exactly. Well, we ain't supposed to be shopping there right now.
Well, wherever.
Walmart, wherever,
Dollar
somewhere,
General, any store, Walmart,
John,
whatever.
anywhere. Get you a clock because
Go
that
to
is
TJ
so
Maxx,
damn true.
anywhere. You can get one anywhere.
Yes.
You
Yes.
can literally, you need an actual alarm clock, and your phone needs to be in a different room. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I love that. But so what would you say to those people with kids that are young adults? Because that is, so with me, I'm always like, what if they call me? What if they call me and there's like an emergency or whatever? And I'm like, yes, what if they call me and there's an emergency? If there's an emergency, I'm gonna figure out what's going on with my kids. Like I think that's an excuse we use to keep
Sure is.
attached.
It sure is. It sure is. And if people, you're absolutely right. It sure is. And if people really have an issue with that, you can put your phone on do not disturb, and you can also select that there are certain phone numbers that are allowed to call you, even if your phone's on do not disturb. Right?
Yep.
So I have
Yep.
on there my kids' daycare and my husband and like all our babysitters. Right? Like those are the
Yep.
numbers that are allowed to call me when my phone's on do not disturb. And that's it. It's a pretty short list.
Mine too. Same. My kids, my husband, my mom,
So you can
and
actually
my best friend.
you can put your phone on do not disturb, turn it off, whatever, and stick it in there. But those particular phone numbers can still reach you. So that's the workaround
Yep.
for that. But you're right. It is
That's the workaround. It is an excuse because I'm like, oh no, because of blah. But now, I mean, obviously, like I said, 8 years ago, now I can leave this phone in a different room and would not care less about what. I mean, there are times when I have like business things too, especially because I just started Poise and I am getting more calls around like how the leadership development training works with Poise and talking about how we connect Poise in the soft life and like all of that. And which brings us to the rise of the soft life, which I have been, first of all, as a Black woman, we are inherently not living the soft life. Why? Because of just the systemic racism that has created the environment in which we operate in. And so for me and a lot of my other Black sisters, it is really hard for us to picture a soft life because you are so used to doing all of the things, right? And women in general, but I always say Black women, that is who I identify as a Black woman, and that is something that I see in my community a lot. And so the soft life has been everywhere lately. We've been seeing it and I love it, but I know some women feel conflicted about embracing it. What does the soft life mean to you?
So it means to me that I can be ambitious and I can still care for myself. And I am not going to, my non negotiable every day is that I will not make justifications for the times that I am on break, period. I will not make justifications and overly explain myself when I'm not available at certain parts of the day because that is my soft life. I love my morning routine where I wake up before anyone else in the house wakes up and I slowly enjoy my morning, and that's when I do my meditations and workout and all of that stuff. I like that I give myself distance between when my day ends in terms of work and when the kids get home, when I rejoin the family. We all come together for dinner and all the things. And I make no excuses for that. And I make no apologies for it at all. I think the soft life is living exactly how you are without really care of the judgment of other people. And I know that I am valuable in this world, regardless of what anyone else thinks about it. I think we're afraid to give ourselves a softer edge because of what other people will think and judge us for, right? How can I possibly have the in-laws come over if my bathrooms are dirty? I mean, what are we doing?
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Like,
This is your home, right? Like, what are we doing?
I hear from women all the time who say they took their laptops with them when they were giving birth. What?
Yeah, that's crazy.
What are we doing? And so,
what are we doing?
So the soft life to me is when we change that question and go, girl, what are we doing Thursday night?
That's right. I love it. I love it.
To me, that's a soft life. It's where we intentionally have soft edges throughout our week.
Yeah. So moving that into corporate healing and leadership shifts, because you say something about soft life to some leader, they're gonna be like, that equals lazy to me, right? So what practical things can leaders do today to create a safer, healthier workplace for people that are coming to work and they're trying to shift and make some adjustments to their life to have a more soft?
Yeah, so great question. I'm so glad you asked that because it's a really important conversation to have. The number one thing that leaders can do is be open to conversations like this and being open to talking to people like me and you to say, come in and teach us how to kind of incorporate this.
Yeah,
Supporting your employees' mental wellness goes far beyond offering an EAP. I want you to still offer the EAP, but you got to have
thank
more
you.
than that. Leaders can embrace the soft life by living by example. They need to lead in the ways that they are not available when they are on vacation. They are not available when it's the weekend, etc. Right? Because hey guys, we got to have some boundaries here around our life. And when leaders actually take the time to check in with people, yes, I want and need for you to be a certain level of productive. And also, I care about you as a human person. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to be like, Sharice, how are you? And don't just tell me you're fine. How are you really?
Yeah.
Right? Hey, Sharice, how's your mom doing? I know she had that knee surgery last week. How's she doing? I forgot to ask you. Checking in with people. And also, Sharice, are you taking care of your mom in her recovery? How's that affecting your life? Or are you doing okay? Is there any way we can support you here while you're doing
Yeah.
that? Checking in with people and truly caring about how they are and understanding that we're going to need these pauses throughout the day and throughout the week, and then embracing people for doing that. To me, we will be there when our new status symbol looks like not that I reached, the 5 or 6 figure bonus because I reached all my goals this year, but rather I lowered my cholesterol by 30 points. I lowered my blood pressure. My A1C came down. I dropped 30 pounds I showed up for every single activity my kid had this year, and it was amazing. I took,
Yeah.
2 weeks off in the summer and we, rented an Airbnb on the lake. I love that. Like to me, that's the new status symbol. The new status symbol to me is how healthy are you? How are you caring for yourself? And how much time freedom do you have, as well as being super ambitious? And it can be done.
Yeah. Before we get into this little fun thing we do on Queens Behind the Scenes that I'm sure you'll be excited about, do you want to add anything else around the soft life or just redefining success beyond burnout or anything? Any last like comments or anything that people can take away today?
I think my biggest comment to you, to anyone listening, is you have the right to disconnect. You don't have
I
to
love
earn
it.
it. You don't have to earn your rest. You already have it. You have the right to disconnect. You do not have to earn your rest.
I love it. And it is true. I mean, it's true. It's yours to take. It's your time, you know? So what we do on Queens Behind the Scenes is a little rapid fire.
I'm ready.
So we do a couple rapid fire questions before we close. So I'm going to ask you 4 questions. First things comes to the top of your head, and it's pretty fun. So, all right, let's start. What is your personal grounding ritual?
My personal grounding ritual is to do a little mini body scan. I have to have my hands touching my physical body, and I scan my body from head to toe or from toe to head. And I have a whole thing. I have incense going, I have candles going. I prefer it in the dark. My golden hour is as soon as I wake up in the morning, which is super early, usually. But that is my personal favorite go to grounding ritual.
Amazing. A book or resource that completely shifted your view of success.
Daring Greatly by Brene Brown.
One of my favorites. I love it. What does thriving look like to you today?
Thriving today to me looks like all the bills are paid, there's money in the savings account, and all of my clients are happy and well cared for. And I am happy and well cared for as well because I've taken the time to take breaks. I've connected with friends, still, taking care of my family, obviously. Thriving to me looks like there is space for all of that in my life intentionally.
All right, lastly, one daily practice our listeners can start right now to step into a softer life.
Oh, I love this. So, one thing you can do right now to step into a softer life is at the end of your day, before you get into bed, before you go to bed, give yourself 30 minutes with no technology, drink a glass of water, and sit in quiet contemplation or meditation before you get into bed. That's it. Set a timer on your phone or
Yeah.
use an app, some kind of a meditation app. I have one that I love, not an ad for that app, but I love certain apps, and just sit with yourself and check in with yourself and ask yourself how you're doing.
Joelle, this has been such a powerful conversation. I think we've given our listeners not just permission, but a blueprint for creating a life that they actually can love. Where can our queens stay connected to you? Because you have, I told you I went to your website and I was like, oh my gosh. So where can the queens stay connected to you, get your book and tap into your.
Yeah, so I mean, my website, easiest place, joellemoray.com, super easy. Hopefully, we'd tag all this in the show notes and all that good stuff. I'm super active on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Although Facebook, I tend to be just a little more of the personal stuff, but Instagram and LinkedIn for sure. And then my book, you can get it at Amazon or at Barnes and Noble, and it's right here. It's called What Are We Doing? Radical Self Care for the Hustle Culture, and it is available on paperback, hardback, Kindle, and Audible. So, regardless of however you consume your books, it is available in that format.
Queens, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You do not have to hustle yourself into the ground to prove your worth. I have also will be providing a soft life starter guide, and I'm also going to be linking resources to Joelle's resources as well. Because we talked about this before. We can all eat. We're both in the same space differently, but the same kind of. And we are the women that are here to prove that we can all eat. At the table, there's enough for all of us. And so with my soft life starter guide, her resources, I think you will be set. You can choose ease, you can choose joy, and you can still win. So make sure you check out those things. Meet us next time. Meet me next time on Queens Behind the Scene. Until next time, keep choosing you. Keep building a life that feels good to your soul. You are seen, you are celebrated, and you are so worthy of the softness of life. Thank y'all so much for joining. Joelle, you are the bomb. We are going to talk later.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on. Till next time, Queens. Bye-bye.